keep going because that's how loud I am today. This is my life. Welcome to the real world. Love you. Okay, I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do. Oh, there are more. Hey, Al.
You're bought in the park. Let me know what you need so I can make sure that you have everything you need that day. Oh yeah, I got it. Oh yeah, Sarah and
that is not a segue then.
It is not a segue. Saying stuff.
What's
And
me
same
talking?
thing with this. A kavanah is a new word that is not usually on her rundown.
Okay, I
So
just need to
it
make
is
sure
a
what, I
teaching.
don't want to
It's
jump
just
on you.
me.
It is a teaching. So there are very few actual segues. I made a note of the one time, I think, from Lachadot Yudar, who was definitely a segue. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Let there be light.
Truly.
And when you are singing or teaching, you do not need to wear your mask. It is a choice if you wish to.
Great. So we don't.
I
So basically, I'm just not going to have it on for the whole thing.
The very few times, I would say, during Hakafah, Rabbi usually wears it, just so, for honoring as you're walking around.
Okay.
If you remember it. Sometimes he forgets. Because, at that point, you're running like a crazy person.
Right.
And then, sometimes when they're doing Aliyot, but no, not really.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Hopefully I'm gonna remember all of these things.
Spread it out. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, spread them all out. Do what you need to feel confident and comfortable. I'm here. And we'll just I will help you organize as needed.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm sure it'll be great.
You ready?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Max Antman. I am a fourth-year rabbinical student at Hebrew Union College in Los Angeles, and I am very excited to be stepping in for Rabbi Young this summer. We are going to be beginning our prayer service today with the candle lighting, and I'm going to invite up Mike and Myrna Capsuto to do that lighting in honor of their 60th wedding anniversary, which is today or around today. Today, on this very day.
Candlelighting can be found on pages 2 and 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'halak l'shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Beautifully done, Mike and Myrna. And we will have an opportunity to further celebrate them and give them a blessing as a community later in our service. But feel free to, shoot them thumbs up throughout. We are going to continue on page 20 with Lachado D. We're going to be doing a new melody by Josh Warshowski. It is pretty repetitive, so hopefully you'll catch on, and we'll probably do it a few times over the next few weeks so that people get used to it. Page 20. And just a reminder, just a reminder, we'll be doing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Shem Tiferet Velitchila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Mekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Mekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha ki hu mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila lecha dodi likrat kala Kamela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabela hitoreri kiva oreh kumi uri Shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat mekabela lecha dodi likrat kala בואי ושלום, עצרת בעולם, גם בשמחה ובתהילה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. Having just recently gone through a primary election, our state and country are currently experiencing a moment of liminality, a transitional, I should say, period between what was and what will be. And there's no prayer that better represents such a period than Ma'ariv Aravim. The phrase Ma'ariv Aravim is often translated as who brings the evening dusk. But the word Erev, meaning evening, makes up the root in both the words Ma'ariv and Aravim, hinting at an alternative definition. Erev can also mean to mix two substances together, leading us to a deeper imagery. A mixing of afternoon and evening light to create twilight. The metaphor of creation through mixing can be seen throughout the remainder of this prayer, from the transition of day into night to the shifting of our seasons and the arrangement of our stars. In each case, we thank God for gracefully transitioning our world from one reality to the next. In our current state of unknown, we are forced to mix our old lives with new and unforeseen circumstances. We aren't always able to stay where we have always been or continue doing things the way we have always done them. This is a scary reality, but not one we are unprepared for. As we recite Ma'ariv Aravim, we not only thank God for moving our world from one state of being to the next, but also for our innate ability to adapt and change as that world moves around us. We thank God for our capacity to mix different realities, ultimately creating something new. Ma'ariv Aravim is on page 30.
Thank you.
wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו מה עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We read together on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Turn to page 44 for Vishamru. At the congregation that I was working at for the last 2 years, they call Vishamru a banger because it's one of the few songs throughout our service that is just pure joy and invites children to get up and dance. And so while I'm not telling you that you have to call it a banger too, you don't have to do that. I hope that we can revel in the joy that this song brings in the middle of our service tonight. As we say the Amidah, we rise together. And you may choose, in the middle of our service, to take 3 steps back and 3 steps forward, exiting one place and entering a new place, a place that is holy, worthy of your presence. We rise together and join on page 46 for the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Elohei Bilcha, Elohei Zilpah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chasdei Avot Mimahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Me'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol Ata, Rav le'hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel Chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asperim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar Michamocha b'gevurot umido melech melech menit umechayem umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emana talachayot hakol Baruch ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללו הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please continue with silent meditation. You may be seated when you're done. Say shalom aleinu. Oh, say shalom b'mromav. Oh, yeah, say shalom. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Yeah, say shalom aleinu. We have come to that very special time in our service when we are able to bring Torah into our midst and learn a little bit of Torah together, hear a little bit of Torah chanted, have an opportunity to bless some of the wonderful people in our community as they join us for Aliyot, blessings before the Torah. And so I invite you now to turn to our Torah service, which begins on page 246. This Torah is heavy. All right. To begin our Torah service, we will call up Mike and Mirna Capsuto for the first Aliyah. Ya'amdu Manshulem V'Masha Pasha. And I should say, normally, what we would do in this moment is just have them do the Aliyah. But seeing as it's such a special occasion, we are going to do a little bit more. So I have a short introduction. A retired professor and a retired teacher with two amazing children and their spouses, Mike and Mirna Capsuto have 8 fabulous grandchildren. Oops, let's not forget the great-granddogs and also great-granddads, as well as significant others and engagements, marriages, lots of things going on. Mike and Mirna continue to enjoy travel and especially look forward to Rabbi Young's trip to Israel next year, which I have not been invited on. Maybe there's still time. Traveling back in time, Mike and Mirna met when Mirna was a freshman at Roosevelt High School in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. Making this about me. And Mike was a junior. The rest is history. They married June 10th, 1962, and when Mike graduated from Roosevelt University and was hired by North American Rockwell, they moved to California. Involvement in synagogue life has always been a priority for them. They are proud of the fact that both children and all 5 grandchildren have had B'nai Mitzvot and confirmation. Mirna had her bat mitzvah when she was 50 years old, and it's never too late to do so. So we are excited to celebrate your 60th wedding anniversary today, and excited to have you as our first Aliyah. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarah Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Baruch Mikol Hamaim V'natanu et Torah. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayehi ha'am kimtonenim ra be'eznei Adonai. Ve'yishma Adonai be'echar apo. Be'tivar bam eish Adonai. Be'tochal be'ketza ha'mechaneh. Ve'chetzei ha'am el Moshe. Ve'yitpalel Moshe el Adonai. Ve'tishka ha'esh. Vayikra Shem hamakom hahu tivara kiva'ara vam eish Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan v'kainu Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'Torah.
Amen. And before you go, Mike and Myrna, it is customary in a moment like this to bestow upon you the priestly benediction, the priestly blessing. And so, with your permission, we would love to bless you and your family as you move into this next chapter of your marriage and a beautiful life together.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'kuneka.
May God watch over you and be kind upon you.
Yis Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom.
May God look upon you with gladness and joy, and may you be granted a life of shalom, of peace. Congratulations. Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov, Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov, Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov. Helanu, 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 Ulechol Yisrael. Helanu, Helanu, Ulechol Yisrael. Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov, Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov, Siman Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Siman Tov. Helanu. Mazel Tov. For our second aliyah tonight, we will call up John Tice. Ya'amod Yochanan Atzil Shmuel ben Abraham v'Sara. And John is doing an aliyah tonight in memory of his grandfather and mother-in-law.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Amen. V'ha'asaf suf asher bikirbo hitavu ta'aveh ve'yishuvu ve'yivku gam b'nei Yisrael ve'yomru min ya'achlenu basar basar zacharnu et hadaga asher nochal b'mitzrayim chinam et kishuim ve'et ha'avtichim ve'et chachatzir ve'et habatalim ve'et hashomim ve'ata nafshenu yavshei ein kol Bilti el Haman Einenu. Wait, second one. Sorry.
Oh yeah, duh.
My nod was misread.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Yasher koach, John.
Spaced out there.
And with the Torah still in our midst, we turn now to those who are in need of refuah haguf, healing of body, refuah hanefesh, healing of spirit. Those in our community who we are praying for healing for tonight include Bobby Becker, Marie Carter Prop, Sandra Cohen, Nancy Danger, Pillar Gill, Michael Gifford, Adrian Greenberg, Risa Heller, Bev Hirsch, Ira Hirsch, Julie Holdaway, Shannon Howard, Jeffrey Colson, Lori Laren, Steve Ostrin, Marlene Peroutka, Lonnie Pinkham, Ron Ross, Robert Slade, Marilyn Stryger, Harris Stutman, Janice Tankinson, Mark Titus, Aviva Batmora Leah, Avraham Bentova, Bona Leba Bat Ruth, Chaya Leah Bat Miriam, Sarah Rivka Bat Nisan, Esther Malka Chana Bat Batya Ruth, Yochanan Atzil Shmuel, Ben Avraham Besara, Leah Bat Avraham Besara, Sharon Bat Avraham Besara, Zipporah Bat Sorel Belazar. And if there are those in your life for whom you would like to bring into this space tonight whose name was not read or was read, and you would like to bring their name into this space, if you're joining us online, please feel free to keep their names in your hearts. And if you're with us in person, please feel free to bring their names, their sacred names, into this kahal as my eyes or hand meet you.
Peggy Fine.
Page 252. I invite you to rise as we return the Torah to the yard.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Torah
seated. The amazing thing about being in rabbinical school is that you get to experience so many different communities, and in all of those different communities, there's different minhag or custom of how things exactly are done. So I appreciate your patience with me as I learn the ways in which you all do things here. People often tell me that I struggle with change, that it's not my strong suit. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Other people sharing with you this particular hindrance on your character. Like when you move to a new house or you start a new job and you're complaining about something being different or challenging or new, and their response is to tell you, well, you know, you kind of struggle with change. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately in anticipation of my first service here at CBT and all the changes happening in my personal and educational life. And I am not so sure that it is accurate. Because when I reflect on the big changes that have occurred throughout my life, it's clear to me that for the most part, they've been really positive. Having a younger sibling, for example, was a huge change, one that altered the entire trajectory of my life. But when I found out that I was going to have a younger brother, I was elated. Okay, the first 3 months after Daniel was born, when I suddenly had to resign my role as pampered baby, unpleasant, decidedly unpleasant. But other than that, it's been one of the most meaningful relationships of my life. Going to rabbinical school was another monumental change, one that provided me with tools and resources to develop my personal identity and spiritual voice. The 3 years I have spent as a graduate student have been transformative. But again, the week before moving to Jerusalem in 2019, awful. Don't even get me started on the student visa process. What I've realized is that I don't actually struggle with change. What I struggle with is transition, the adjustment period that occurs between what was and what will be. In Parshat Baha Alotcha, we rejoin the Israelites on their journey from slavery to salvation. The Parsha comes shortly after the revelation at Sinai, and the Israelites are now being instructed by God about the proper procedures for traveling through the desert toward the Promised Land. They are only able to journey forward when God commands it. So sometimes this means staying for just one night in a particular location, and other times it means they will have to remain for up to a few years in the same location. God also specifies that when traveling through the desert, the Israelites must move by division or tribe in a very specific order, with each being responsible for carrying specific materials related to the tabernacle. God tells Moses to use trumpet blasts to communicate with the Israelites, altering their length and frequency to differentiate between different instructions. These rules and regulations are extensive and completely foreign to the Israelites. And with the added strain of a limited food supply in the desert, they become frustrated and begin complaining. If only we had meat to eat, they say. We remember the fish that we used to eat free in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. Now our gullets are shriveled. There is nothing at all, nothing but this manna like coriander seed to look to. Moses responds by beseeching God to address the Israelites' concerns, exclaiming, "Where am I to get meat to give all of these people?" When they whine before me and say, "Give us meat to eat. I cannot carry all these people by myself, for it is too much for me." So God causes a wind to sweep up large numbers of quail from the sea, covering the camp for miles with more food than the Israelites can possibly consume. The people set to collecting the quail and devouring its meat, but before the food can even be chewed, we read that the anger of Adonai blazes forth and strikes them with a severe plague. The place is named Kibrot HaTava, commonly translated as the graves of desire, because those who craved and devoured meat are buried there. Change is about situations. the substitution of an old reality for one that is new and different. This can be exciting to experience, but in order for it to succeed, there must also be a successful transition for those impacted, a psychological and emotional processing that allows people to accept the change and plan for how it will impact the ways in which they live. Think about this in the context of our political system and the successful and unsuccessful policy changes that have occurred within the last decade. Same-sex marriage, for example, came about only after public sentiment for homosexuality had shifted to the positive. In 2005, only 36% of Americans supported same-sex marriage, but in the 10 years that followed, there was significant movement. Famous voices like Ellen DeGeneres, Ricky Martin, Elton John began emerging and spreading the message of equality within the media. Out and proud members of the LGBTQIA+ community got elected to positions of political power, and 3/4 of the country went about legalizing same-sex marriage on a statewide level. So when Obergefell v. Hodges passed in 2015, American support for this policy position had already risen to over 58%, a clear majority. And today that number is over 70%. Same-sex marriage was a huge change for the American political landscape, but it only succeeded because American citizens on a local level had been transitioning their views on homosexuality long before it ever came to the floor of the Supreme Court. Juxtapose this with the issue of race equity and the colossal change that occurred when Barack Obama was elected president, and we can see that this kind of transition was not occurring in the same way. Since the emancipation of African Americans from slavery, systemic racism has festered in the United States, allowing black folks to remain disparaged and limiting their opportunities for social, economic, and political success. The election of Barack Obama was a huge change, but what has occurred since may be proof that a successful transition towards racial equality never really took place. The rise of white supremacy, the attack on voting rights, and the increase in hate crimes and police brutality against black and brown people indicate a backslide, a direct correlation between a change and a society that was unprepared or unwilling to accept that change. Even today, as organizations and faith communities work to address the systemic racism that has long permeated their spaces, we continue to see this change used as an excuse for avoiding the necessary work of equity. A study done by the University of Michigan Institute for Social Change and Research found that, quote, many Americans changed their perceptions of discrimination and racism after Barack Obama became the nation's first black president. Nicholas Valentino, an associate professor of communication studies and political science, wrote, voters used Obama's election as a sign that things had improved for blacks, even more than they previously believed. And as a result, and regardless of the reality, policies designed to improve equality of opportunity were seen as less necessary. The Israelites were granted freedom, but many of them never transitioned out of a state of oppression. They didn't have the time to properly assess how being free people would affect their day-to-day lives and what praising God would mean for their futures. They didn't think about the laws they would now need to follow or what food they would have access to as they traveled through the desert toward the promised land. So when things got tough, they backslid, complaining that they were better off as slaves in Egypt. They forsook the protection of God and the assurance of entering the promised land, and they became whiny and greedy. They couldn't see the beauty of this change, the potential for a better and fuller life after this transitional period. And as a result of their short-sightedness, the opportunity was taken from them by plague. I have been misdiagnosed my entire life by folks who insist, Max, you struggle with change, but I don't struggle with change. I struggle, as many of us do, as the Israelites did, with that awkward, scary, unknown period that comes before change sets in. When all of a sudden you aren't the only child in your parents' lives anymore, or you're moving to Jerusalem and haven't been practicing your Hebrew, where the country is changing, and you are going to have to either change with it or get out of the way. I struggle with transitions, with managing my own expectations for change. And that's going to be a lifelong challenge for me, for us, for our entire world. To lean into the unknown and not let fear of failure or doubt call us to give up or turn back. To remember that nothing worth having is easily procured, and that on the other end of each transition is something new, something different, the potential for something better than what we have known. I believe that's worth sticking it out for, even if it means living without quail for a few additional months. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Aleinu on page 282. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעושה בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כעם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
At this point in our service, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth just recently. Our loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We take to heart those 395 Americans who lost their lives this week to gun violence, and pray for a day when such senseless bloodshed no longer exists. We also call to mind those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death, resides this week. Jeanette Jean Alder, mother of Arnold Alder, Ann Alderman, aunt of Gary Miller, Adolf Berger, father of Leslie, Marcia Berger, and Susie Katz, Harold Cohn, father of Gail Douglas, Phil DeFrancisco, cousin of Teresa Rankin, John S. Galbraith, remembered by Helene Weinstock, Augusta Gorman, grandmother of Marnie Orsburn, George Green, uncle of Dwight Borsis, Morris Greenberg, father of Carol Colodny, Katrina Rockenberg Grief, grandmother of Wendy Cohn, Ossie Milkite Gumpert, aunt of Paulette Feinstein, Eliezer Hamay Erie, cousin of Rachel Perry, Barbara Hansel, mother-in-law, John Tice, Sidney Harris, brother of Renee Barger, Paul Krentzman, friend of Susan Backer, Estelle Kushner, aunt of Marcia Schechter, Pauline Kushner, mother of Keith Kushner, Linda Towel Moss, remembered by Diane Salzman, Hannah Rosen, aunt of Jay Seiden, Edward Serrata, uncle of Larry and Martin Serrata, Fenwick Vogel, father of Haida Schnur, Arthur Stewart, father of Teresa Rankin, Gillis Stoll, cousin of Rachel Perry, Dora Milkus, Zaharia, cousin of Paulette Feinstein. If there's someone whose name was not read tonight, who is weighing on your heart heavy tonight, if you are in a period of Shiva, Shloshim, Shana, or if there's just someone whose name feels like it should be said tonight, if you're joining us online, please feel free to hold that person's name in your heart. And if you're with us here in our kahal in person, please feel free to say their name out loud as my eyes or hand meet you. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We join together in prayer on page
294.
294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divra kirtei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei de kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mebarach le'olam umei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei tukudasha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. You may be seated. It is now my pleasure to invite our president to give us some announcements.
Good evening. I'm Albert Davidson, a member of your board of directors. First off, I would like to thank our usher tonight, Terry Hirschberg. Appreciate you helping out. And also Mike and Myrna Katsudo for sponsoring our streaming and our ONIC tonight. Mazel tov to you both. Thank you. Right now, we have going on our Spring Fling. So if you have not been online yet, please take the time to go to biddingforgood.com/CBTFV. And there's a lot of wonderful items there that you can bid on and some wonderful events to register for a raffle with. So take the time and go through there and help support CBT. Also on July 1st, our family service will be in the park right around the corner. It was really lovely last time. Hope you can all join us. And the Brotherhood is also having their dinner dance coming up on, when is it? July 30th. Excellent. Please attend. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Al. And thank you to Marna and Mike and John and Jenna and Catherine and all the folks that are joining us online for joining us for this, for my premiere Tefillah service with you all. We are going to begin concluding really, our service with Shehechianu. Shehechianu, as many of you may know, is the prayer that we say in Judaism when something new is happening. And tonight is something new for all of us because I'm here, which is new. So we're going to sing it together. It's a tune that you may have done here before.
We generally sing this tune for the high holidays, so if we have choir members here, it's
This is your
it's-
time to shine.
It's the Taubman version, ladies and gents. We won't hear the peak. I know some that one we hold close to our hearts too, but this one's pretty cool. So join us and sing along.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. You bring us here. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. You keep us here. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. You bring us here. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. You keep us here. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. We join together for Kiddush and Motzi, which I do. And then
Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'harta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol
Amin. V'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uratzon inhatanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashamat. Amen. That's great, cheese.
Ooh, this is nice. We join together in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech
Haolam, ha'motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Please join us outside for an oneg. Shabbat shalom, everyone.